can always take something from someone. Even if you think it's bad technique or coaching or illustration, learn from that. Take something from it.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. And today we have one of my favorite dudes on the planet. As a football player, as a member of any team, when you walk into a locker room, there's generally one or two dudes that you look across the locker room, they've always got a smile, they've always got a good word for you, and it just brings that joy, that gratitude about being part of a team. And Derek Stingley is that guy for me. When we played for the Albany Firebirds in the Arena League, he was a defensive specialist. I was a quarterback, opposite sides of the ball. But he was one of my favorite players because I knew, period, he always had my back. He was the ultimate high character guy. He knew how to win. He knew how to work hard. He did all the right things, and he was just a joy.
Great day, everyone. I'm Mike Pawlawski, former world champion quarterback, serial entrepreneur, and award-winning TV producer and host. I've lived a life dedicated to mastery through performance and mindset integration. Each week, I'll bring you the insights, strategies, and stories from some of the world's top performers to help you unlock your greatness. Whether you're an athlete aiming for the top or an executive driving your team to victory, this is where you learn how to train your greatness to become an everyday great. Now let's get after it.
Derek Stingley, welcome to the podcast today, brother. Great to have you.
Mike, thanks for having me, man. I know I'm going to enjoy this. Look, you guys, especially you, was like a big brother to me. You know, that was really me cutting my teeth in football, and I learned a lot from you guys. I saw your leadership. I always enjoyed being around you and the fellas. It was just a family atmosphere, and it was nothing but love and nothing but good times and good memories. I can't think of a bad memory that we had. I think the one time when we were trying to get our rights about certain things where, you know, I think it was, we did a little protest here and there, but that was about it. But, you know, we didn't win all the games, but we learned from the losses, but we did win the major one year. And that was something that, you know, I cherish. And, you know, like Coach Daly says, no one can ever take that from us. We're all champions from the 1999 team. So, man, thanks for having me on this show. I love seeing you. I know it's been a while, but it's just like any other family that I know we are. You can be distant, you can be far away, but the minute you connect, it's like no time or no distance has ever been in between.
Right back in the locker room. That's exactly right. I love it. And the reason Sting is on today, because he has such a unique perspective about this. His father is Darryl Stingley, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, but you know him. He was a first-round pick, New England Patriots, and was injured while he was playing, ended up quadriplegic. So Sting has that as a son of an incredible athlete who had his career taken from him. But then Sting became an incredible athlete himself. And he talked about it. He had great tools. He had great genetics, great athleticism, but he also put in the work to learn and get better, had that growth mindset, which was awesome. And I got to see a lot of that right in front of me, which was really cool. But then he went on to be a really, really good coach. And now he's the father of a first-round pick. And so he has so much perspective in his life. I just want to bring it to you today because it's always, when we talk on the show, it's about being great. And Sting has seen it from every level. Let's talk about, you know, being the son of Darryl Stingley. What was that like for you? Because it's unique. Great athlete, career cut short. Obviously, could have been tragic, but he made a lot out of it.
No doubt. Well, you know, for me, I when I used to get asked that question so much, I just say, well, he's just dad. He's just dad. But then I had to look at it from the other side of the table on how other people saw him. And, you know, I looked at it as the fact that my dad was an amazing man. He was a good person to a lot of people. People adored him. He was an inspiration. You know, naturally, he was a great athlete to where, like you mentioned, he was a first-round draft pick out of Purdue University. But his career was cut short, and that was something as a family that, you know, we had to deal with early on. But I always said, even after my dad's injury, he was still that same guy. His mind was even stronger. And in the way he saw the world, you know, he could have been bitter. He could have been like, you know, screw everything and everybody. I'm in this body where I can't move. But he still got up and was very productive about who he was for that day. You know, he didn't just let his injury hold him back in any form or fashion. You know, and then I was a young kid, and he was, you know, he was a young person himself because he's only 20 years older than me. And I was trying to get into sports, but he was still there. Physically, no, but mentally, and the way he would coach me and talk to me through things and get me ready. I mean, it was like as if he didn't have the injury, because I would lean on him on everything, and he would critique my game or talk to me, whether it was baseball that I was playing at the time or even where I got involved in football. It was the same thing, to where he was there for me. And you know, I get it. He was that guy that most people, you know, adored and wanted to be, you know, in his presence in some form or fashion. But for me, he was just that. And I can always say dad, but I was able to see the dad that was the football player, because I was young enough to see that and be amongst that, and see how he prepared himself during the off season, and see how he took care of his body and the things he did outside of football, from ballet to karate to constantly stretching to teaching us as a family on how to eat right and do all those things as a young kid. And then naturally he goes down with an injury, to where now I become almost the father, to where I have to take care of him and pacify him and feed him. And if he has the itch, I have to scratch his head for him. And imagine that. Like, he's like, no, to the right, no, down, lower. Well, you can't even scratch your own head. But to us, that became second nature in our family, to where if I woke up in the morning and went to go get a glass of water, I abruptly stopped in my tracks and turned around and went into Dad's room and like, hey, Dad, are you up? Do you need something to drink? Because it was just, for us, if we was consciously going to do something for ourselves, we also thought of him, because he couldn't get up and do it himself. But that's just the way that our family dynamic was. And it was no burden or anything like that. It was just part of everyday life. And then here we go. I'm playing football and he's like, oh, yeah, you know, I think you should probably play DB, because you don't have that chemistry with the quarterback. You're fast, but I don't know about your hands. There's hands you can struggle a little bit. He said, but no, I know you're a good athlete, but you have the speed to where you can make up even when you mess up. And the more you learn, that speed will help your game so much more. And believe it or not, he was correct. And I was okay with that. And, you know, I learned the technique. I learned to trust myself, and, you know, I became decent or pretty good as a player.
You became really, really good. Don't sell yourself short. You are a phenomenal football player.
All that I go to say is that, you know, that's me trusting in my dad. You know, I wanted to be a wide receiver. I wanted to be like him. Naturally, every son wants to be like their dad. And I thought my dad was my hero. He was my role model. But he was like, look, you know, you play football. You're a good enough athlete to where you can play and make a difference. And he was correct. And, you know, rest is history.
Yeah, well, so many lessons that you get from that, right? You just talked about several of them, but your dad's resilience to be able to take that, right? A lot of people, I can speak for myself, would go in the tank. You know, that would be really, really difficult. But rather than going in the tank, your dad showed such resilience. And to model that for you guys was such a gift for you guys to get that from him. It's amazing. Like, I'm sure at the time you didn't. We never think of that when we were kids. But as you look back now, you must realize how incredible a gift that was for you guys.
Yeah, today, yes. Back then, I would question, why my dad? Why him? But I never heard him question that. I never saw him have a moment of self-pity or crying or you know, just being the different character. It was always the same guy, to where, you know, yeah, it taught me a lot. But I'm a young kid through his early stages of his injury, to where, you know, he couldn't move anything. You know, only thing he was able to move was his neck. And I would massage his arms and flex them back and forth and bend his fingers, because in my mind, I'm like, I'm going to make this work. Something's going to trigger to get him back to being himself. But, you know, it was therapy for him, you know, but he saw the determination in me to try to, you know, get him back to health and things like that. But, you know, modern medicine wasn't where it is today as it was back then. You know, I think today, if my dad may have had that injury, maybe maybe things are a little different. I know back then, the equipment, the helmets wasn't good. There was a situation to where they snapped his chin strap off and popped his helmet off. They don't even do those things no more because of my dad.
Yeah, and it became the Darryl Stingley rule.
Darryl Stingley rule, correct?
Yeah,
where they take
immobilize the head.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And it was a different time back then. The sport was a little more brutal, but he just never showed that I'm down. It was almost like, hey man, let's get up and go. Like my dad, he did things. He was, we were from Chicago, so he was in and out city, like going to the Bulls games, going to the Bears games. He took us to the Sox game, the Cubs game. He would go out on the nightlife and enjoy the city. And he was just as if he was just himself, but he was in a wheelchair, and he never let that slow him down. So, that taught me a lot, because if he can do that in that state, why can't I? And stop taking things for granted, like the simple things of just putting one foot out in front of the other. He couldn't even do that. But that made me, say, okay, I can't sit back and just be angry about life or things that didn't go my way. Find what can work within that situation. And that's kind of how I always went throughout life. I had bad moments, but at the same time, I had to learn from it, try my best to turn it into something good or great.
Yeah, I think we all have those bad moments, right? It's just how you deal with them. You make the greatest point, though. Like, you can look at your dad and he becomes a quadriplegic and it doesn't slow him down, right? That's like the ultimate metaphor. It doesn't slow him down. And so now you get an injury or something happens to you and you're like, I can't feel sorry for myself. Like, our parents always tell us, when I was growing up, my parents would be like, well, there's a little kid somewhere that doesn't have something to eat. And you won't eat your cabbage or whatever it was.
Exactly.
And it never really hits home, but you got to live with it every single day.
When you see it, when you see it, that's when it really is like, okay, no, I can't be down. I don't have no reason to be down. Yeah. I can scratch my head. He can't, that kind of thing. So,
yeah, that's an amazing lesson. So let's talk then. You grow up. You go on to college. You have an opportunity to play at Purdue, but you decide you want to play baseball first. Talk about that decision. What were you thinking at the time? Because you were a little bit smaller back then.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I was about 170.
About $1.25.
I know, for real. Well, let's go back a little ways. Okay, let's go back to high school, because that kind of set it up for me. Born in Chicago, naturally I lived with my dad, which, we lived a good life. But the one thing my dad did that I always questioned was he gave me the opportunity to choose the school I wanted to go to in high school. And I had friends on what they call the west side of Chicago, which is not so good area of Chicago. And I was like, well, all of them are going to that school. I want to go to that school. Why can't I go to that school? But my dad mentioned that there's this other school called Whitney Young that you can go to. It's, it's prestigious and, they have sports. But I was like, yeah, but they're not as good as the school over there, which was called Orr Community Academy. So he let me go there, and it was a public school. And the city of Chicago, the teachers went on strike, it seemed like every year. And that cut into the football schedules.
Yeah.
I didn't play high school football till my senior year of high school, because every year leading up to it, there was a strike.
Every year,
and including my senior year, there was a teacher strike, and I would only play 3 high school football games.
So answer, how do they only get a 1-year contract if they come back off a strike? Like, how does that happen?
I don't get it. We never did. So then naturally, baseball is the last sport of the school calendar year.
Spring.
So I was able to play baseball, and then next thing you know, I'm playing baseball and I'm doing well in it. And I have scouts coming to see me play in high school, and I'm like, okay, I didn't think I was that great. I just thought that I was naturally fast, and in the outfield, I was a good defender, of course, played good defense. But, hitting the ball was easy, because high school, to me, they just throw straight. None of them really throw curved balls or sliders. I mean,
not good ones.
Exactly. So I'm just sitting red, and I see fastball, hit fastball. But then I started getting offers for some colleges, and I remember talking to my dad saying, I don't know what to do, or I kind of want to I was thinking warm weather. I wanted to either go down south, and I even mentioned Hawaii. He looked at me like I was crazy. You're not going to Hawaii. I said, but it's nice out there. He's like, no. He said, you're going to Purdue. And I was like, huh? It's like, wait. I didn't think
Far
Purdue
enough,
was
but close enough.
Exactly. So, because he went to Purdue, he made me go to Purdue. Or I ain't going to say maybe. I accepted it. So
He strongly suggested Purdue.
Exactly. But here's the kicker, though, Mike. I was not eligible my first year at Purdue. I was what they call Prop 48 back then.
Yeah.
I had the GPA, had everything. I was a great test taker. The day I only took the ACT once.
Right.
Once. I took it the same day of this. I got news that my father's father, passed away. And I went to go take the test. And I'm not saying that that's the reason why I didn't do well, but I was so sure of myself. And I'm doing the test like, oh, I'm good. I'm great. And back then, I think it was 89. You needed like a 15 to pass ACT.
Right.
I got a 13, dude. I'm like, you can get that on just spelling your name right. Like, what's going on? So I go into college, not eligible to play. So naturally, that took away my first year on if I was going to do anything at Purdue. And now I'm like, this is the first time in life where I'm a part of something, but I'm really not a part of something.
Yeah.
You know, I can't be with them. I can't work out with the team, can't do anything with the team. And because of my dad's injury, that means that my school was paid for no matter where I went. So whichever team, whatever school got me, got a free player because scholarship was paid for from the NFL. So then I was like, okay, I can do the baseball thing here. But naturally, it's my first year. I'm still Prop 4, so you got to go through the whole entire year. Grades got to be on par, things like that. So now I'm getting a little distracted. But they try to keep me in the loop of things like with the football team. Then I'm like, okay, but I can do baseball. And they try to keep me, involved in some form of fashion. And I was just like, this is for the birds. I just don't want to be here. And I've been telling my dad, look, I really don't want to be at Purdue no more. And for me, it was borderline embarrassment as well, because I'm like, hell, I'm a smart. I was top 10 in our school. Like, how can I not be eligible to play college football or baseball? And I kind of rebelled a little bit because I felt, okay, he made me come here. I didn't choose this school, and this is not where I want to be. So I was at Purdue for a year and a half. And I wound up transferring to a junior college outside of Chicago called Kishwaukee Junior College, to where then I was eligible to play baseball. I played baseball there 1 year. The coach wound up leaving, and he became a scout for the Pittsburgh Pirates. He advised all of us, because I had 1 more year of junior college to play because I didn't play at all. I was borderline red shirt my freshman year, however you want to call it, Prop 48. So then we transferred to the school outside of Chicago called Triton Junior College. Yeah. Played there the whole entire season of baseball. I got drafted from the Phillies after that. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to give this a try. I could always go back to football or baseball, school if I want to. So I did the Phillies things for 3 years in the minors. Got as far up as AA. My second year, I was in big league camp. Just the camp. I was out there with Lenny Dystra and John Kruk and what's the catcher name? Dawson. So I'm there with the Phillies with all those guys.
With the dudes.
Early 90s. Yeah, I'm riding buses with them like, how did I get here? But I was super fast the way they never seen that type of speed before, where I can hit the ball to the third base, shortstop, second base, even first base, make an adventure out of it, and damn near be safe every time.
Yeah, and for people who don't know at home, when Sting says he was fast, he was fast. Clocked at 4.12 with the fire, like fast. That is world class fast.
Ask me, they used to say, "How do you run so fast?" I said, "I don't know. I just want to get from here to there as fast as possible." I didn't have an answer for it. So, long story short, played 3 years. Made to AA, but I got sent back down to 8-ball. And for some reason, football was just on my mind. Football. I want to do football. And I went down, my girlfriend, who is currently now my wife, I met her. She was living in Louisiana. So I said, heck, let me go back to school. Let me finish school. Because I didn't finish school, so I enrolled at Southern University. Went down there, enrolled in classes, and I saw this ad in the newspaper for what they call the minor league football team. I said, I wonder what this is about. Let me give it a try. So called the people. They told me to come down, do a tryout, whatever. And got down there, signed up, told the guy who I was. And before I even tried out, he's like, wait, Stingley? You mean Darryl Stingley's your dad? I was like, yes. He was like, oh, man, you're on the team. Don't worry about it. I'm like, what? Just that easy? Can't be out. You haven't seen me walk in a straight line. He was like, no, you're a son of an NFL football player. You're on the team.
You're going to be all right. Yeah.
And believe it or not, I played that team. I had like 12 interceptions. I had 12 interceptions, like 3 of them for return. I had 11 kick and punt together, like five kick returns, 6 punt returns for touchdowns. I said, something ain't right. I said, I can't be like that good. But it's the Weekend Warrior League. It's semi-pro. It's just, they called it the minor league. I'm in the Hall of Fame, the minor league football Hall of Fame.
I love it.
I have a jacket. Yes. It's like I broke records in 1 year, and I had an agent, and I remember calling my dad, and he was the one that told me, hey son, you can do football but play DB and be a return guy. So I did that, but I called him and said, Dad, I got an agent. Is there any way I can probably get to the NFL? And he was like, man, that may be tough. He said,
long road. Yeah.
You didn't do it the conventional way. He said, but maybe, if you make a tape, you can send it to some people, send it around, and someone may see it. And I made the tape, and my agent sent it to like CFL. I think at the time they had the World League was going on.
Yep.
To the World League. He knocked down some NFL doors, but that never happened. Then he sent it to the Arena League. And I got a call from a team in Connecticut. I think they were the Coyotes at the time or something like that, of arena football. And the Albany Firebirds, Mike Pawlawski was the head coach. He called me. He was like, hey man, you want to come out here and play with the Albany Firebirds? I was like, the what? The who? The what?
Right.
Like I remember watching it when I was in training camp in Tampa. I was watching the Arena Bowl, and I remember them kept saying Hunky Cooper. Who is Hunky Cooper? And I didn't even know. I couldn't even follow the game. I was like, they have nets? Like, what? Is he playing both ways? Why he's just stationary? He's on defense. He can't just go away. I didn't understand it, but I didn't know. Lo and behold, I would be playing that sport. And at one point in my life, the Arena Football League gave me everything, from furniture to cars to money to whatever I had in my possession was because of Arena Football, not knowing back then that was be my everything thing, so to speak. So Pawlawski calls me and said, hey man, come out. And I looked at the contract and I was like, oh man. And then $200 win bonus? Oh, I love this. Yeah, I'm going. Oh yeah. Call my dad. Dad, I'm gonna go with this team called the Firebirds. It's gonna be nice. I'll make this much. And he's like, well, that's good for you. You can make that money. There's no money in your pocket. But for me, I was like, $1,000 a week? Oh, Rocky, I'm going.
All right.
I got up there to Albany, and Mike was like, hey, man, you're good, but you need to learn the game a little bit. And if it hadn't been for Marshall Roberts, he would take me out every day before practice, and we would work on the littlest things, like my first step coming out of a pedal. Like we'll take like 25 first steps on the right foot, 25 on the left foot, work break. I mean, he really molded me into who I became as a football player. To be honest, I give him all the credit. I say it all the time.
He did. Yeah, Marshall's awesome. Dog had a dumb name, but Marshall was all. Yeah, he had a boxer named John. John, yeah. So, but that said, Marshall was awesome. But it was kind of your whole career. That point was preparing you for that, right? Because nothing ever came easy. Your dad, right, and then that just became a thing. So now you're developing grit. And then you're going to play baseball, but then for some reason, Prop 48, I'm telling you right now, Sting is not a Prop 48 guy. Whatever happened, Sting is not a Prop 48. I've seen Prop 48
but I don't mind
guys.
Talking about it.
Right. The Milwaukee Mustangs were all Prop 48 guys, but not Sting. So anyway, but my guy, so it's all preparing you, right? That's the tough stuff in life that we hate at the moment.
Yeah.
But it makes us tougher. It makes us stronger. It's such an important life lesson. And then you get there and you find a mentor, Again, another big life lesson with Marshall. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but it's such like
I love Marshall to this day. Love him to this day. And you know, I was green. That was 1996, so I was okay with it. But then I never played a game, so I was on what they call the practice squad, and that $1,000 turned into $250 a week.
right, a little different salary at that point.
I said, well, okay, I'm okay. I got housing and we got a few meals. I was okay with that. I never was like, oh, I'm up here. He promised me this, and I understood. Okay, it's levels to it. You know, I'm on the bottom of the totem pole at the moment. You know, and if I just continue to work hard and keep fighting through this, and maybe this can be a thing for me. And then
so many players can't do that. So many players can't get out of their own ego, right? Think about the guys that came in that you saw come in that thought they were better than their situation.
Got weeded out. Yeah. And I was okay with that because to me it was an opportunity to be around, you know, football again. To regardless, it was professional. You know, I don't care if I was a freaking janitor getting paid $2 an hour. I'm a professional janitor. So I looked at it like that. And I said, I could be doing something worse, but I'm doing something that I love. So it didn't matter to me at the moment, you know, and here I go into the following year. Coach Daly becomes the head coach. He calls me, hey, partner, we're going to Paris. You want to go to Paris? I'm like, huh? Why not?
Yes, please.
And then I go over there and break my friggin' toe. 5-pound fracture.
Yeah.
I get sent home early. I'm like, oh my God. I'm in the airport and there's a bomb threat and we got to run out.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm in crutches and I'm running out.
Charles de Gaulle Airport on crutches. That's awesome.
It was so funny, Mike. It was I handed the lady my ticket and then a little French voice come over the intercom, so sweet and calm. For foo. That lady look at me, she throws the ticket up in the air and take off and run. And I'm like, what? And I see everybody moving crazy. I just see the exits and I'm hopping along.
I don't know why, but I'm running.
What's going on? I get out there and someone speaking English. I say, what happened? He's like, they just said evacuate the airport immediately. It was a bomb threat because I think when we first got there, the bomb went off in the subway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
and they had another threat in the subway while we were there.
Yeah. So
and it's funny because I was gonna say back then, like they were having Charles de Gaulle was having bomb threats like every 15 minutes, like it was happening all the time.
Yeah. So everything calms down. It's funny. Everything calms down. We get on the plane. You know, it takes a while, whatever. We're on the plane, and I remember sitting on the plane, and the plane was taking off, and at the time, I had a Mustang that I used. It was a 5-speed. And I was sitting on the plane. I was like, man, they need to shift gears because the plane was saying. I was like, they need to shift the gears. I'm thinking at that moment, like, you know, planes don't have gears, but in my mind, I'm thinking that.
Right, that's what it feels like.
And immediately after I said that, the pilot came up with the intercom and says, we have to make an emergency landing in London. We just lost power in one of the engines.
Oh, man.
Dude, the plane did this. It turned like this.
Oh.
I said, oh, my God. Everybody's leaning, and he's getting there, and we get over to London, and it took them like maybe 6 hours. We're stuck in the airport. They're trying to figure out the problem, fix the plane. They want to give us another plane. We finally get over to the States. I think we had our connecting flights in D.C. Naturally, everybody missed it. They put us up in the hotel. My flight was leaving out the next morning to New Orleans. And I'm downstairs in the lobby and waiting on the bus to come pick us up, take us to the airport. And I get on the bus, and there was a pilot there. He was like, oh, man, he was getting on the bus with me. He said, hey, I remember you. You know, he was like, how was your pilot last night? I said, oh, man, he could have got us home. I heard planes can fly with one engine. And he said, nah, we was about to be in the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. I had to turn us around. I was like, oh, Lord.
You were the pilot.
I said, oh, my God, thank you. And I'm so sorry. Yeah, so that was fun. I mean, that was not fun, but it was exciting. It was just, I'm glad I got the story to tell. I'm glad he'll tell the story.
Yeah.
And then next, the following year, 98, we have a good team. I thought, we lost in the playoffs. We probably one of the better teams that year. And then 99, bam, here we go.
It all came together for that 99 year.
Yeah.
One of the big things that I thought was super important about that, right? Yourself, I talked about how much I love you, but guys like Greg Hopkins on that team.
Oh, man.
Right? Kyle Moore-Brown.
Oh,
they don't get any better than Kyle Moore-Brown. You've got bigs, right? They don't get better than bigs. Everybody, right? That whole team, right? Was Coach D, and I used to sit down, Mike Daly, again, one of my favorite people on the earth. That team had a bunch of them. But we used to sit down and talk about character guys. In 97, when he brought me back, I had come from the Miami Hooters, worst team in the history of organized football. Like, they were awful.
Yeah.
I had been around horrible management. I had been around really bad players that were super selfish. And I came in 96, the same year Sting did, and I was ready to quit playing football. I'm like, I'm over it. I'm done. I'm gonna write my thesis while I'm back here taking a check, and I'm over. I'm done. And so at the end of the season, Hohensee moves on. Coach D takes over, and Coach D asked me to come back and be his quarterback. And I said, I just don't need the character issues. I don't need to be around bad dudes. I've been around it enough. I don't like it. And he's like, no, we're going to build a high character team.
Yeah.
And right there, I was like, well, that's kind of interesting, actually. And then he started building a high character. And actually, Ho started right before he left. Me and Ho had a big talk. After that Predators game in 96, me and Ho had a little come to Jesus together. And we had a talk. And then Ho the next day, and he's like, look, we're starting to move dudes out. We're starting to get some character in. But Coach Daly continued that, right? So then we started stocking up Chris Snyder. We started stocking up guys like that were just super high character. And that was the difference in that team, because it was the talented team a couple of years before. But we got it in some really good character dudes on that team, which to me is one of the biggest lessons, right? Guys with great character make great teams.
Oh, I totally agree with you on that. You just brought me back to 96 when we were in the so-called, we were in a separate locker room. What did we call that locker room? What was it? We had a name for it. I forget what it was.
Yeah, all the big kids were in the adult locker room.
Misfits locker room or something.
The Scrubs locker room or something.
I was like, oh my God, that's where I first saw Antonio Brown and little Eddie Brown and the other get the other kids' names. It was all three of them. Devin, yeah. Chasing
each other around the Pepsi Center.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff. But that was actually really, that's kind of the point. Like, there's a lot of separateness on that team. There's a lot of apartness on that 96 team.
Yeah, it was. And then,
and then 97, like, Coach D started bringing everybody together, started bringing in character, and then all those character dudes started creating bonds. And there were some dudes that you had to manage, right? There's always dudes. You can't have perfect systems. I mean,
you got to stroke somebody's ego every now and then.
Yeah, but you had so much character, so many guys that were so solid in the team.
That drowned out all the other stuff, and we were good.
And contained it. And so that 99 team actually got voted by the players and coaches the best team in the history of arena football, the number one team in the history of arena football.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, we were great. We were voted the greatest team in the history of arena football. Wow. So yeah, that's a pretty big plus because we were pretty unstoppable at that point. Like that team was really good. We lost to the Predators once. Yeah. Which is a great story. I'll be telling that story.
We got it wrong up when Coach Daly gave us hell.
Yeah, that man could spit some fire too.
We had the fullback for the Predators ran for like 80 yards or 100-something yards. Oh my God! And he was on us like I remember him looking at me saying, "Oh yeah, if I find another guy that's attacked." I'm like, "Oh snap."
Yes.
Oh, I wouldn't tackle it.
Yeah, because you love the man. So when you disappoint him, you're like, oh, right? And like you feel so bad. He just took a piece of my soul when he's screaming at me.
Oh my God!
I totally feel that. That is so. Yeah, that's so funny.
Yeah.
But that year, I mean, that was a really, really good football team. And like once we started rolling and going into the playoffs, and like it was going to happen.
We were good with each other on the field, off the field. We did so much. I mean, it was just. Even when I think of you and Hop, y'all used to call me baby boy.
Yes.
Boy. And me and Hop used to laugh at each other about who would be a Firebird for life. He'd be like, you're a Firebird for life.
Yeah.
I'm mad. I'm leaving.
Yeah. Getting caught in the Albany trap, right? That's going to get you.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are great times. We finished that season. We win the world championship. It was such an incredible time. And kind of the thing that hit me after we won that world championship, like you get so focused on the event, the one thing, the pinnacle. And it was great.
Mm-hmm.
But then like 2 days later, you're like,
what's next?
What now, right? Like that was shocking to me at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so that you kind of have to learn to become process focused at that point. You can't be always looking at the future of this thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the championships are awesome and they're great.
Yeah.
And it was you and I bonded here today. We've got a championship. Coach D used to say, winning is the glue that binds a team together. And it did. And that team's tight. But then you kind of learn the lessons, and this is one of those lessons that you learn about greatness. Greatness every day is really how you kind of improve your life, how you improve things.
Without doubt.
You have to then find another purpose because you hit that championship and you lose your purpose because you just won it. Now what?
Well, here's for me, like we won it, and then 2 days later, I get a call saying I gotta go to the New York Jets.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? I said, wait, I'm getting married like in 2 weeks.
Right.
Like,
and you just played, 7 to 8, 19 weeks.
Yeah.
And then you just had a month of camp. Like, oh man.
Yep. So then I go to the Jets. I'm like, all right. So Bill Belichick is working me out for a tryout. And he said, he had me run the 40. And he looked at me, what do you normally run the 40 in? I was like, man, I said, on a good day, I said, I'm easily low 4.2. He said, well, you just ran a 4.3 flat. If you go in here and if you bench press at least 9 times, you're on this team. But don't tell those other guys that you're on the team. Just go in there and just lift the weights.
Right.
I said, wait, I'm on the team. He said, yeah, you're on the team. I was like, oh, snap.
4.3 opened some doors now.
Yeah, and I was like, Jesus Christ, like, really? I said, hand time now, thinking back, hand time, it probably wasn't a 4.3 flat. It could have probably been a 4.3 something, but he probably looked at it as, hey, you're freaking fast. So
if you're in the 4.3s, you're fast.
Yeah, so I'm down there lifting. He said 7 times. I think I lifted. After 8, I stopped counting. I just started thinking in my head, wow, I'm signing with the New York Jets. I'm going to sign with the New York Jets. So it was kind of funny because they sent me home right after that. And because I had to get married or whatever. And I came back. I didn't go on my honeymoon. We got married. I went back up there, and then I was on the team for a little while. And just like anything else, you be the last one in, you're the first one out.
Yeah. And the NFL means not for long.
Yeah. I was actually happy when they was like, hey, look, we're going to let you go, but we're going to bring you back. You're a good talent. Because for me, covering somebody stationary, Keyshawn Johnson and all those guys, they're not running in motion. I'm like, no one's coming at me full tilt. I said, this was easy.
That's easy.
For a baby, yeah.
Yeah.
So when I think the tight end broke his hand 1 week, we was up there and they had to bring in someone else and they had to bring in another tight end on the practice squad. And they thought I was upset. I was like, thank you. I was like, okay, you say I'm going to be back? Okay, great. But I was like, I'm okay with not going back. That was kind of
I've had
weird.
a lot of football this year.
Man, I was so tired. I was like, my God. And then after that, I think like 2 or 3 weeks later, I went up to the Jaguars. They worked me out, and I was up there with them for a week. But, that didn't last long. And they were looking for a two-way player, just to practice for them on both sides of the ball. And
right.
I was up there for about a week. Coughlin was the coach. I was like, all right, I can go home. If y'all need me to go home, I didn't say that to them.
Right,
I was,
of course.
Kind of hoping so. Then I finally got that rest. I really needed.
Yeah, you need it, right? You got to have recovery time.
Yeah,
football's brutal.
Yeah.
So we got, I would love to keep you on for hours and hours, but let's kind of move along here. You go from we played, and then you go in to become a coach.
Yeah, yeah.
What didn't you know as a player that you learned as a coach? Because, man, once you become a coach, the game gets different.
Well, what I learned as a coach was physically, there's not a dang thing I can do about the outcome. Nothing. Not a thing. You can prepare them all you want. You can get it right over and over in practice, but game time, there's nothing physically you can do about it. Now, you can prepare them. You can get them to the point where you know that this is second nature for them. They're gonna respond in this environment. They're gonna make sure that they get it right. But this is a game of uncertainty. We don't know. It's really truly reality TV. It's you don't know what's going to happen because it's just sports. But the anxiety of having your job in someone else's hands is tough. As a player, you're responsible for your own stats, so to speak. But as a coach, you're responsible for the wins and the losses. Yeah. Those stay with you regardless. And then, if you don't have good ownership that believes in you or don't give you the resources to be successful, that can be tough. I had a few of those along the way, trying to build a team and getting them to understand what it really takes. Sometimes that can be tough.
Yeah.
But, I enjoy coaching. I enjoy the start to the finish of the week. Every week is a new week, those type things. You can love the moment when you win, but naturally you're on to the next immediately, believe it or not. It's like,
and that's the beauty of football. Like, as opposed to baseball where you're just playing games all the time, or basketball, you're playing games you get one game a week.
Yeah. That's
and
it.
You better perform. But whether you perform or not, as soon as that one's over, it's passed, and you're right on to the next game until there aren't any more.
And then from a player standpoint, what I didn't know that coaches did, coaches watch way more film than players do. Tell you that.
Not quarterbacks, but okay.
Yeah, you're right. You're right about that. But I found myself watching so much tape. And I remember telling myself, oh my God, I don't ever remember watching this much film as a player.
Right.
Like, because you're trying to find an advantage in every little thing. You're self-scouting so much, and you're trying to say, oh my God, okay, are we showing these many tendencies? What are we doing that someone is up on? Or this didn't happen right in practice. Why this didn't go? But okay, but I've seen them do this, at least 6 times out of the 8 films that I've watched. Okay, this is them. This is who they are. And then you put a game plan together. It's like, the players say, well, Coach, how do you know that? And I look at him like,
how do you not know?
We're all watching film together. How do you not know this?
Right.
So those type things was a little frustrated, but then, I also had to understand that, I'm dealing with a younger group of kids. And I guess at some point we were those younger group of kids as well. But, the level of play that, although it was the Arena Football League that I coached in, it wasn't our Arena Football League. So you almost get what you pay for.
Well, that's true. I mean, it's harder to recruit when the pay isn't as high, right? So these are kids that want it and maybe don't have other options.
Yeah.
And so and it's tougher.
They're distracted because they have to work.
Right.
There's other things, and then we still need practice. We still have to travel. We still need to perform and all the above. Some teams were better at making sure that they had resources for players, but some teams, they did it by the book. Get them some employment or not. Let them be with us for 4.5 months or 5 months, and then hopefully they can get their life back on track when they leave from us. And I was like,
right,
that's how it needs to be. But we'll see if we can find those players. And the ones we found in some places out there, they was just average guys, but I still enjoy coaching them because I still had good teams. I always had great defenses, because that was my thing. I had a few guys with me that coached with me that I played with, like from Raymond Silliard to Charlie Davison. Those guys were good. I think Ray most definitely had a real good mind for it.
Oh yeah.
Charlie was just a gutsy play caller. I coached with Ricky Foggy, and Ricky Foggy was probably one of the better ones. He never stressed about anything, but he can see a game and call a game and be on point. And those were probably some of my better years as coaching with Ricky Foggy. Because we kind of did well with one another. Now, I coached with Clint Dozell, and that was a good thing, him and I, because
Clint's pretty sharp.
Yeah, Clint is very impressive. Like I learned so much from him, but he also said, dang thing, I learned a lot from you too,
Oh, without a doubt. It's like getting behind enemy lines when you talk to the defensive guys.
Yeah. So, and then we would do a lot of, we had every start of practice when we get into 3-on-3 with 7-on-7 in the outdoor game, it would be competition. So it'd be me against him. So, he would like to see what I do against certain things, formations. And it was good for the team. It was good for the players. And it was a good atmosphere with Clint. I enjoy working with him. But I think with Ricky Foggy as my offensive coordinator, he was probably one of the best in my mind.
Yeah, good quarterback too, right? Minnesota guy, another.
No doubt.
You get the Minnesota connection going with Ho and now Funky.
Yeah, I know.
Right? Giving the Gophers a lot of love today.
That's
but
right.
Yeah, so Dolezal, you'll love this story. So we went back when the Albany Empire was playing in the Arena Bowl when we had the reunion. And they were playing, I don't remember what team Dolezal was with at that point, but he was the coach. Clint Dolezal is Hall of Fame.
It was the Philadelphia Soul.
Soul, thank you, yes. Yeah. And so Dolezal is world-class quarterback, phenomenal, could have been an NFL guy, just, things didn't fold for him right. And he's a phenomenal dude, too. But they're playing, and Clint's calling plays, and I'm watching it from the end zone. And so I don't remember exactly what it was, but the safety was falling off, and as soon as the quarterback looked away, safety was diving out. I go, Clint. I call him up. I go, hey, your safety's doing this. Just have him look it off and come back. 2 plays later, calls it, throws it. Guy throws a touchdown. He looks at me like, thumbs up. Yeah, that's great. 2 quarterbacks all working together. But
that's what they are. That's the guy.
He's such a good dude. I just love Clint. We still talk.
Yeah, he's coaching college now. He's coaching
down in Texas.
Yeah. Oh my God, what's the school?
Stephen F. Austin?
No. Nope. I can't remember, but it's the school in Texas.
Yeah, he's down in Texas.
Cause I congratulate him. We talked for a minute. So,
such a good dude.
Yeah.
So if there was one thing that you could teach players, like one thing, I know one thing that I tell players all the time. What would the one thing be that you would teach players?
You can never stop learning. You can always take something from someone. Even if you think it's bad technique or coaching or illustration, learn from that. Take something from it. Don't get to the point.
This is what I don't want to do, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I tell everybody, I say, just be open-minded. You never know. There were always times within my time as a coach to where I would allow a player to coach the individual.
Yeah.
To come up with his own ideas of individual. So just knowing that, because you don't want to make it to be like as if you know it all.
Right.
Because now you're capping yourself. You're saying, no, I don't need to take coaching from you or you or you. I got it.
My way's the only way.
Exactly. Yeah. So get some learning from this guy. Just keep an open mind about it.
That's classic. Steve Jobs said he hired dudes that were smarter than him and let them do the stuff, right? Mm-hmm. As a player, if you're not getting input from everybody, they all have a different perspective.
Yeah.
And so it's a great point. My favorite one is, if you truly want to be great, your ability to focus on this rep. The only rep that you're ever going to control is the one that you're doing right now.
Oh yeah, I like that.
You probably remember every time before practice I would get out there and talk about focus.
Yeah.
And if you're not focusing on this rep, then you're just wasting a rep. And so it's the only one you can ever control, being completely present. And so put your full focus in this, and that's when you get better. Intentional reps, intentional practice, intentional whatever you're doing. If you're in the moment, if you're present, is how you get great.
No, I love that, and I agree with that just as well. I mean, it turns into, did you get better today?
Yes.
And if you got better today, that means that the focus was there, that every play mattered. You walked away knowing that you put in more work than the previous day to where you became that much better leading up to game day.
Yeah, or at least the important work that you needed to improve.
Yeah, no doubt.
Right. And it's funny because you find all these lessons carry over, not just in football, but they carry over into life. Every single thing that you do, like every lesson from the gridiron it's like you're drinking life in a concentrated form because you don't get to hem and haw for 2 years about, do I want to make this decision? And I'm a little nervous. I don't like that doesn't happen in football. You make it now or you get cut.
Exactly.
You make the change, you have the right mindset, or somebody else is going to take your job, or you're going to lose the game, or whatever it is. And so it's automatic. If you don't make it, you better know, and you got to know what the right thing is, or at least the right way to make the decision.
Yeah. Mike, I just tell my team when I would make the final cuts and I have my first meeting with the new team for that year going into week 1, I would tell them all, say, look, give yourself a hand, guys. You guys made the team this year, and this is us. This is how we're going to attack this season. I said, but I got some good news and bad news. I said, the good news is just what I said. You guys have made this team, and we're going to try to go out and win a championship this year. I said, but the bad news is I am still looking for your replacement.
Every day.
I said, I'm looking for your replacement. So please don't let me find your replacement.
Yes. Do not cut yourself.
Exactly. That's just saying, I need you to perform. I need you to do all the right things. I need you to come and be a good teammate. I need you to have the respect of your teammates and the trust of the coaching staff. That's all I need you to do. Because from there on, you got to trust in me that I'm going to put you in a position to be successful, and you have to trust your teammates that they're going to do their job to where you can be successful as well. And you have to do your job to help your teammates. All those things, man, it's always a combination of something that works to where you're going to have either a great season or a poor season. Yeah. And you get everybody to just ride that one wave together, and then, things can turn out great for you.
And they do, and it's just a matter of mindset, right? It's a matter of everybody doing the right things, not necessarily the most talented group. Our Albany team, I don't know if we were pretty talented, don't get me wrong. But I don't know if we were the most talented team ever in that league. But the cohesion of everybody doing the right things when they were supposed to, and when they didn't, there was a couple guys, when they didn't do the right things, the reaction from the coaches and the players was swift.
Yeah.
It was like, nah, you're getting back on track. We're doing this right. And that's the difference, I think, in life. So you carry that in great lessons. And then little Sting comes along, right? Our guy. Like I grew up, I was living vicariously through him. I was texting you during games and stuff like that. But an absolute baller coming up. And in high school, highly recruited. I was trying to get him to Cal. I'm not going to lie. I wanted to see him play for the Golden Bears.
I think, Cal.
Of course they did. I was all over him. Like, you got to go get this kid. And family is like, love these dudes. He can live with me. I don't care. But so anyway, so he goes to LSU, right? Mm-hmm. And as a true freshman, come in and ball. Yeah. All the lessons that you learned in your life, from your father, right? Mm-hmm. From dealing with that. And then minor league baseball and football. And there's so many great lessons in there that you don't even know you're absorbing when you're young.
Yeah.
And you were able to put that into him, right? He was able to get the benefit of that. And a lot of young kids won't hear you. They're not gonna hear it. Talk about what that was like with him and how he took that, because he just he clearly genetic talent was a high baseline. But he had to have more than just that. It had to be more than just genetic talent. I've seen a bunch of genetically talented dudes who didn't do what little Sting did.
Right. Well, with him, I had to ask him first, do you love football?
Yeah. Really important question.
Yes. Yeah. And
is this your passion?
Yeah. And then when he said, well, yes, and I said, is this something that you want to do in life? Do you want to be a professional football player? He said, yes. And I said, well, now you're going to have to do other things that other 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old kids don't do. I said, you have to sacrifice more.
That is such a powerful, the fact that you knew that because of your history and because of what you did and who you were, and the fact that you were able to bring that to people at home. That's one of the coolest things I've ever heard. It gives me goosebumps just hearing that because it's so true, right? Do you love this? And then not only do you love this, but now you got somebody to channel you and mentor you with exactly the right message. Your life's going to be different if this is what you want to do.
Yep. And I was not hard on him because he wanted it. And I just pushed him. I coached him. I trained him. I taught him everything. Like, the boy can probably throw a football 60, 70 yards on a dot.
Yeah.
He can kick one as far as one. He can punt it as far. He has hands out of this world. He's special as an athlete. I mean, when it comes to speed and strength and explosion and all the above. But, I made him say, look, man, this is business as usual. Don't make too much of it, but give it a little bit more than the average. Because if you don't work as hard or put more into it, eventually someone will catch up. I said, your opponent could be outworking you. I said, is that what you want? Do you want him to outwork you every day? So as a sophomore, junior, senior in high school, we would get up at 5 o'clock every day and go to the gym first, work out, train, do all this stuff. He would come back home, take a shower, go to school. I was his coach in high school. I was his coach all the way up to LSU. And then we would have practice, and then him and I would stay after practice, work on some other things, work on press technique, work on turning and running, working on whatever we felt needed to be. Because what I wanted things to do for him, I wanted it to be effortless, to where he didn't have to think about the way he had to move. It just happened because for him, it was implanted in him and instilled in him, to where I always use second nature, because that was a term that my dad always said to me, like, hey, you want to make it to where it's second nature. You do it unconsciously without thinking about it. And those are the things.
So I'm just right there. That is such a great lesson, because once you free yourself because you've done so many reps, right? That's the power of reps. Mm-hmm. Once you free yourself because you've mastered it through reps, this takes a lot of reps. Like, you don't get it on rep number 3. An amateur practices until they get it right. Like, a pro practices until they can't get it wrong.
Exactly.
So we're talking about a lot. But as soon as you do that, you free your mind to do other stuff. So now, because you are second nature, because you've taken the reps, I can process differently than everybody else on the field. Yeah, my feet will do it. My body will do it. I'm reading defenses. I can do things because I don't have to worry about my feet. Yeah. They know what they're doing. They're on autopilot, man. This is just going to happen.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. You're giving me goosebumps,
right?
So and you're right, because his IQ was just off the charts, because he started understanding everything from wide receiver stance to splits to when the receiver break the huddle, he would be right in their eyes, because I'll always tell him, I said, he's going to look where he has to go once he leave that huddle. He has to, because there's a certain amount of steps he have to take to get where he needs to run to. You have to see where we are on the field. You have to see if it's 2 safeties high or 1 safety high. You got to see where you're going to be, but he's going to glance. I'm not saying that that's the key of it all, but that's a little nugget that you could take within that rep. So he would look at all that. He would see the receivers, the quarterbacks, the way his stance was his foot, was he right, left, up, or left, back, whichever one. He would see it all. And he would sometimes just react before his opponent would. And that was just high school. So I knew once he got to college, because I would always tell him, and him and I was talking about this last night. We was talking, I was like, because another guy interviewed me about him and was asking me, when did I think that my son was, going to be a special athlete or would be better than most? I said, well, it was kind of weird. I remember him being 6 years old, and he was on the flag football team. And at the time, the coaches could stand behind the players and kind of put them in position. Mm-hmm. But Derek, I could just tell him, all right, Derek, you're going to play free safety. I said, you're going to, you got the middle third. I could talk to him like that because I could, but the other kids would have to be like, okay, now you're going to stay here. You're going to stay. If anybody goes deep, that kind of thing.
You got this little circle, and here's your yeah, totally.
And on that play, it was kind of fun, because that team we played, they were another 6 and 7-year-old team, but their quarterback can throw the ball, and they had another guy that can catch pretty well. So I was like, oh, Derek's going to have fun on defense, because I said he's different when it comes to kids his age. And they threw a ball, it was like a post across the middle, and he just had this crazy body control where he jumped over the guy and kind of hands out in front of the guy, never touched him, hit his legs. He came down on his right foot and then just sprinted on his left, and I was like, in my mind saying, the body control was sick. The hands were on point. You know how you was always saying, "Hey, good eyes, Sting, good eyes."
Yeah,
he had
all in the eyes. Yeah,
he had all those eyes and hands. I was like, "Oh my God!" And I was like, "He's sick." In my mind, I kept saying, "He's 6. He should not have been able to do that." But that's when I realized that football was in his DNA.
Yeah.
That he was going to be great. So I told him last night, we were talking, I said, back then when you were 6, you could have played with 10-year-olds and not just played, but you could have been a dude or one of the guys who really mattered for their team. I said, when you were 10, you could play with 14-year-olds. Or when you were 14, you could have played with 18-year-olds and 18, 22, like that. I said, and it really was that way. He started high school as an 8th grader and was the guy.
Yeah.
You know, by the time he got to 12th grade, it was still in. Like, I think they threw the ball his way.
I wouldn't.
No. They threw it his way. I think it was a 6 stat. It was like 6 times for 5 interceptions. Some craziness. It was crazy. It was drunk, stupid crazy. So now he goes on to LSU and you know, he comes in his freshman year and he just have a light out. I
remember this. I remember when he was coming, right? He was the number 1 DB prospect in the country, right? So there's that. But then I remember everybody be like, well, don't expect too much too soon. He's still all these ESPN guys. I'm like, man, if he's anything like that, that boy is going to tear it.
They were like,
up.
He comes from a small school.
Yeah.
He got to learn acclimate. Mike, to this day, he is the only freshman defensive player ever to be a consensus All-American in the history of college football.
He was so good. I was so proud. I was feeling that with you. I'm like, oh my God, yeah.
Only been 4 freshmen to ever do that in the history of college football. He's the only defensive player. The offensive guys were, I think it was Herschel Walker. It was what's the running back out of Oklahoma?
Barry Sanders is
Peterson, something. Adrian Peterson.
Oh, Adrian Peterson, yeah.
Adrian Peterson, and then the kid from Purdue, recently, the receiver. Oh my God, I think he's playing out with the Carolina team right now. I mean, not Carolina, but with the Cardinals. From Purdue. Quick, fast guy. Quick, short, shifty guy. Came out probably in 2019. It could have been.
Okay.
Well, okay, him. And then Derek was the 4th guy, but
defensive guy
ever.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So talented. And again, so the inputs that he had coming into him, right? Genetics were great. And I don't want to focus on that, like, because then you get in that fixed mindset of, well, it's just talent, right?
No.
Without the work ethic, he could be another guy. He could be a fast guy, but just another guy. But it was the work. It was that growth mindset of always get the stuff you talked about, which I love. If you want to be that guy, then this is the path. And I see parents, right? I still coach the quarterbacks, and I see parents who are kind of really on their kids. And you can tell the difference when the parent is pushing the kid, then it's not the kid. But when the kid is passionate and he is pulling the parent, that's when you love it. Like, I have my parents going to every single sporting event of all time. And people are like, well, don't you want to take it easy with him? They're like, he wants to do it. Like, he loves it. That's his thing.
Yeah.
And so when it's a kid doing it, that's such a big difference.
Mike, we would do so many things, man. Like if I'm watching the game on TV and I would pause the game and he's walking by and I say, Derek, come here. I said, what do you think this guy should do if it was a guy returning the punt? And I had it pause and say, what should his next move be? And he'll say, well, okay, he should probably look at this guy. He will point up to the guy on the next level. He said, because he's already beat this guy. He should beat this guy with an angle because this guy probably going to tackle him with a proper form tackle. So it'll probably be an arm tackle. He should cut back and then he'll run through that. And then the only guy that can probably catch him is this guy up here. So he should be setting that guy up. This guy's just in his way. So he should make him miss no matter what. And that's how he would talk.
Yeah.
And then we played and he'll be like, oh, he didn't go the way I told him to go. You know that. Because we don't know the outcome. He didn't know the outcome of it, but that's how he would look at the game. His vision, or he was always a step ahead of everything, and it was amazing. And naturally, by me being his coach, and then I'm a coach on the staff, and I kind of knew things to where it can help.
Well, and you had a little bit of knowledge with a few years of professional play, personal knowledge and coaching. Like, so it's a good background to have a mentor with that much talent, skill, experience. Like, that's a pretty big blessing for him as well.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, and then he goes on to be the third pick overall,
which was crazy.
I remember your. It was either Facebook or a tweet at the time. It was like, woo, like
I know.
3.
I know.
And I was like, I could just hear Stinger doing that right now. Like, when that happened.
Well, here's how all that led up to it. And naturally, he tore his Liz Frank his junior year.
Yeah.
Only played 3 games. And we were a little concerned with that. So we didn't let anyone know exactly what the injury was, but we told that it was a foot injury. He's doing all he can to get back to health. But we just had to check with a lot of doctors, some NFL people, to see if this would do anything to his draft status. And then once we start getting the word that, this is now a common injury, he can come back from it. We went to the doc with the Green Bay Packers. He's supposed to be the best foot doctor for the NFL, and did the surgery and all that. And then once he checked off on it, that's when other teams were like, it's all good. So naturally, we're starting to get him ready for his pro day and his NFL draft process. He couldn't do anything leading up to, because he was still trying to heal from the injury.
And that could be a long-term injury. That's Liz Frank is.
They put a screw in his foot. So
you got to be right.
Yeah. He couldn't do anything at the combine but do the interviews, and teams was highly interested in him still. Everybody wanted to know what he's going to do his pro day. And, we had 20 days to get him ready for his pro day. So, him and I got together for like 2 of those weeks, and we just did everything. And actually, he had a real good pro day. He ran like a 4.37, but he was running all 4.31s leading up to that. But his calf muscles just wasn't back to where it needed to be, because he was on the
ribs.
He was immobile for like 5 months.
Right.
So it atrophied. So it took a while for it to come back. Well, anyway, leading up to that, the draft week, we started hearing that Houston was going to take him. And I was like, it's been the Jets the whole time, like the Jets and the Giants. So we knew that he was going to be in New York, whether with the Jets or the Giants. And then all of a sudden, we hear Houston. I said, wait a minute. I said, Lovie Smith? I said, he plays cover 2. He might take the Thibodeau. I thought they would take Thibodeau from Oregon.
Yeah, Thibodeau is stud. Rush guy, edge guy.
Yeah. I'm like, that's more Lovie Smith deal. And the closer we got, they said, it is Houston. So I said, wait, Houston has another pick, which they had like the 11th pick at the time. So I said, ain't no way they think that Derek is going to go past the Jets or the Giants. So when they made that call, I was like, you got to be kidding me, dude. And him and I, we talked about that like his whole entire life. I said, Derek, you're a generational talent. I said, most generational talents at the position that you play, they're top 3 players. I said, you could possibly go top 3. And he was like, damn, maybe top 5. I said, no. I said, I don't know if you can slip past that, because it was him, there was Sauce Gardner, it was this, it was back and forth, then that. And I kept saying, well, both of them are good players. I said, but Derek been battle tested. I said, Gardner, he played in a different league and this and that, but Gardner's playing well. And truth be told, I think it's the system. Derek played under Lovie, where it's a cover 2. You got to tackle more, while Gardner had pressure and a little more man coverage. And both of them going to be great pros.
But
for Derek to become the 3rd overall pick, as a dad, as a father, you just don't know like the way I felt once the call happened. And I said, oh my God, all I could do at that point was to see the little baby boy that when he was a young boy, like 1 year old, and I remember holding him, walking him around the house, and he was crying, and I was like, it's going to be okay, son. I said, daddy's here. I'm going to take care of you. I said, you're going to have a good life. I'm going to make sure that everything be okay. It's okay. And I remember just walking around trying to let him hear my voice, try to soothe him. In that moment, all I felt was that baby boy.
Right.
And I said, I don't know how to feel right now, but my kid childhood dream just became a reality.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to feel, but I'm so excited for him right now. I was like, this is the way we envisioned it. I said, so we saw this, we spoke on this, and we brought it to life. But here's the thing, from the point that we saw it into when we brought it to life, there was so much in between that had to go on.
Yes.
That happened. So it wasn't an overnight process. It wasn't a stroke of luck. It was all the talks. It was all the getting up. It was all the workouts. It was all the doing the right thing. It was all being in school. It was all being present. It was all not doing the wrong thing and hanging with the wrong crowd. It was all those things had to say, the stars had to do this to line up to get to where we were on draft night. And I still to this day can't put it into words. I'm trying my best, but it's just hard, you know, and I'm just happy for my son and, you know, praying that all goes well for him in his career. So.
And I mean, that's the epitome of everyday great, right? The having the focus, the belief. Some people talk about the law of attraction where you think positively about it and it comes to you. That ain't the way it works. I'm sorry. It's nice. It would be that. The way it works is you get focused on it, and then you put it in the work.
Yeah.
And you do the right things, and you keep that focus and you keep that belief, right? Once you believe, once it's in your heart that you believe this, there's nothing that can stop you from doing it. But when you're thinking, oh, I don't know, and I'm holding back, and I'm with like the number one way, and I learned this when I was a kid. I grew up surfing, loved telling the story. But I would take off on the top of the wave, and I'd be like, oh, and you kind of go down, and you fall. Because you can't grab an edge, you can't carve a turn, you can't do anything. And it wasn't until I learned that I got to go for it. You have to believe and you have to do it. And as soon as I realized that, I hit the bottom that way and I snapped back up. I'm like, whoa, what just happened? But you have to buy in, right? You have to earn the boats, and you have to make the decision that I am doing this. Yeah. And so it only took him 14 years to become an overnight success. Right? In that one draft day.
Exactly.
But it was all that work. People never see that work.
No.
And they don't want to hear about the work because everybody wants the easy button.
Exactly.
I understand that. That's human nature. But he did the work, and you were there to guide him, which is just, I mean, freaking amazing.
Mike, I'm here in Houston right now. I train the boy every weekend. We still work out.
Right.
We're at the Texas facility every night. Friday night. Saturday
still
night.
Working.
It still work. So you're right, Mike. It's the mind. If you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't.
Period.
And I used to tell Derek all the time, before you do anything, visualize yourself doing it. Because seeing it is half the battle.
Yeah.
I said it, you have to see it. I said when you see it, it is the second nature will take over. There go my phrase again. It's the second nature will take over because you've already done it and you won't be surprised.
That's right.
You've done it already in your mind.
You've owned it.
But you've been there. And that's how we go about it. Before every game, he'll call me. Like I'm talking about before he step out on the field. It's like he's in a locker room and we're talking and I'm just saying all the things, you know, we have a conversation is always about, you know, look, I used to always tell him, go be great. I don't say that no more. Because I said, go be you. Because you being you is better than great.
Right.
It's so much better than great. You know, and then, you know,
wow. That literally just gave me the goosebumps. Because I know exactly what you mean, right? Yeah. There's no pretense to it there. I absolutely love that.
Yeah. And it's always words of encouragement because I'm in it with him. You know, I watch the film, I break stuff down. He'll talk to me about game plans and this and that, and then I'll talk to him about, hey man, you know, this guy likes to do this. If you get in this situation, get in the red zone, remember, you know, chest him up. He's going to try to push off. You have to be a little more physical right along with him. Hey, this is a speed guy. What you want to do? You want to give a first down or touchdown? Which one? You got to choose what you want to do. You want to be aggressive. So we would just talk. I wouldn't talk that fast. I'll give it to him slow and just let it sink in. And then when it all ends, the very last thing I say to him all the time, like there's this clip that they used to run on LSU's fan page. It went a little viral with the LSU people, where we as parents, we can sit there and our boys come walking down the hill, and then Derek would come to me and we would talk, and they saw me doing something with them, and I hugged them. But what I said was, after every speech or talk I give him, at the end of it, I'll hit him on his pads. I say, hey, just remember, boy, you hit with these, and I hit his pads. You hit with these, and I hit his head like this, and I say, you think with this, and then I hit him in his chest, boom, boom, twice. I said, but most importantly, you play with this. Yeah. And I hug him, I love him. So it looks like this. I say, all right, boy, I say, no matter what, you hit with these, you think with this, but most importantly, you play with this. And I hug him, I say, I love him.
Man.
Right? Okay. That's why I say, go be great. I used to say, go be great. But now I just say, hey, go be you. And I said over the phone because I can't get to him now in the NFL. But that's our thing. That's what we do and say.
So good, man. That brings tears to my eyes just thinking about that. That's so cool. I cannot thank you enough for coming in tonight. Like, dude, that is so good. That leaves me feeling so good right now. I can't tell you. I know everybody at home is going to love that. They're going to share this out because that, what a moment. What a moment that is. And, like, I'm so proud of you. I am so proud of him. I am so glad that you are in my life, brother. I am so glad for that.
Thank you, dude. You understand, man. You meant the world to me. You still mean the world to me. You are my big brother. And I love for everything that you've done, how you showed me the way and how you continue to be you as a supportive guy. It's like, you know, people need this in their lives, believe it or not, man. And I'm glad that you've been here for me. Yep, for real.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on tonight. Make sure you share this stuff out. People at home like this. If you got anybody at home, you're watching this, you're hearing this, make sure you share this out because there's somebody that needs to hear this. Like staying with the program, getting through hard times, that whole progress, it just has to happen. Stinger and baby Stinger is a total example of that. And it's just such a great thing. Sting, I love you, brother. You know I do.
Love you too, man.
And I will be catching up with you.
Stop making me tear up right now, man.
I know, brother. I know.
All right, boy. Peace out.